XRP Las Vegas opens April 30th, with Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz both confirmed on stage. XRP open interest on Binance collapsed 71%, from 7 billion XRP in October 2025 to approximately 1.5 billion today, the most complete leverage wipeout in XRP derivatives history. Kyobo Life Insurance, South Korea's largest life insurer, with $92 billion in assets, just became the first Korean institution to pilot tokenized government bond settlement using Ripple custody. And David Schwartz said publicly this week that if you are investing your time, money, and emotion based on conspiracy theories, you are probably fooling yourself. Tonight, we are dealing with all of it directly. Tonight, this is a complete breakdown built from 4 documented developments that are happening simultaneously and that the community is interpreting in wildly different ways. Some of them correct, most of them not. First, what XRP Las Vegas actually is and what the realistic announcement range looks like, including what Garlinghouse has historically delivered at this event, what Schwartz's confirmed presence means for the technical announcements, and why the Swell plus Apex merger announced this week is the more structurally significant event for institutional signal value. Second, the David Schwartz conspiracy theory statement, read precisely and completely because the full context of what he said, including his own acknowledgement that NDAs are real and that many Ripple partners insist on keeping their business secret, is categorically different from the David confirmed nothing is happening interpretation that is circulating. Third, the Kyobo Life Insurance partnership and what it means when you situate it inside Ripple Custody's documented client list, BBVA, DBS, DZ Bank, Societe Generale, and now a $92 billion Korean life insurer that is actually happening right now at institutional scale. And fourth, the open interest reset data, what the 71% collapse in XRP derivatives positioning actually signals technically, with the honest assessment of both the bullish and bearish interpretations, plus the macro warning about Strait of Hormuz oil dynamics that most crypto channels are not pricing into their market outlook at all. This is not financial advice. Nothing here is a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any asset. This is educational analysis based on publicly available event records, on-chain derivatives data, institutional partnership announcements, and documented market structure developments. Always do your own research and consult qualified financial professionals. If this is the channel that reads Schwartz's full statement rather than just the headline, hit the like button now. Subscribe with the bell on. Let's build this. Start with XRP Las Vegas, because the community excitement is real, but it benefits from being grounded in what this event has historically produced and what the realistic announcement range looks like heading in. XRP Las Vegas 2026 runs April 30th through May 1st, with Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz both confirmed as speakers, a pairing that carries a specific signal value because Schwartz's participation in community events is selective, and his presence alongside Garlinghouse typically indicates that the technical dimension of whatever announcements are coming is substantive enough to require the architect of the XRP ledger on stage to explain it. The 2025 XRP Las Vegas event produced Garlinghouse delivering what attendees described as a bombshell declaration about XRP's role in global finance, with community reports describing the energy as the most charged atmosphere the XRP Las Vegas conference had produced since its inception. The realistic announcement range for this year's event, based on what is known to be in active development and what Ripple has historically used Las Vegas as the platform to reveal, RLUSD deployment updates and new integration partner announcements, given that MasterCard's RLUSD integration is already public, and the next tier of payment network integrations would logically follow from that foundation. XRP Ledger Technical updates. The privacy layer development that Schwartz has referenced as a prerequisite for institutional use of the public XRPL is the most watched technical item. New ODL corridor activations or existing corridor volume milestones, and potentially a Clarity Act legislative update, given that the Blockchain Association has XRP Las Vegas community engagement as part of its broader outreach calendar, and senator-level appearances at crypto events have become normalized in 2026. What is unlikely? Government price-setting announcements, backdoor XRP reserve confirmations, or any of the specific conspiracy theory categories that Schwartz addressed directly this week. The distinction between realistic announcements and conspiratorial expectations is precisely what separates investors positioned correctly for what XRP Las Vegas will deliver, from investors who will be disappointed by the gap between what they were promised by engagement farming content and what actually gets announced on stage. Now, the Swell plus Apex merger, because this is the announcement from this week that carries more institutional signal value than anything XRP Las Vegas is likely to produce, and it is not getting nearly the analytical attention it deserves. Ripple announced this week that Swell 2026 and XRPL Apex will merge into a single 3-day event in New York City from October 27th through 29. This is the first time these two conferences have been combined. Swell has historically been the institutional conference. Bankers, payment executives, regulatory officials, central bank representatives. Apex has historically been the developer conference. XRP ledger builders, DeFi architects, tokenization developers. Merging them means that Kyobo Life Insurance's technical team, BBVA's digital asset strategists, and DBS's institutional custody architects will be in the same venue as the developers building the specific tools those institutions are evaluating for deployment. The proximity produces the specific conversation. We need X capability for our compliance workflow. Can the XRP ledger do it? Answered immediately by the developer, who is either already building it or who commits to building it on the spot, that no amount of press releases and partnership announcements can replicate. It also means that the institutional announcement density of the combined event will be higher than any previous Ripple conference, because both institutional and developer pipelines are being announced in the same program. Speaker applications opened April 14th. Registration is now open. The October event is the one to watch for the announcements that reshape how the institutional community thinks about XRP's role in the tokenized financial system. Las Vegas this week is the energy signal. New York in October is the structural signal. Now, David Schwartz's statement read precisely and completely, because the community reaction to this is ranging from "he confirmed there are no secrets" to "he can't say anything because of NDAs." And both interpretations are missing the actual content of what he said. Schwartz's full statement: many Ripple partners insist on NDAs to keep their business secret. I'm saying the conspiracy theories that constantly claim that something big is about to happen or that the government is going to do something massive are almost always going to be completely false. And if you're investing your time, money, and emotion based on them, you're probably fooling yourself. He then added, when challenged, that he would not reveal secrets anyway. But I wouldn't say that there's no big secrets if there was a big secret, unless I was a liar. Parse this carefully, because the precision matters. Schwartz is saying three things simultaneously. First, NDAs are real. Many Ripple partners have them. The commercial relationships are active, and some are confidential. Second, the specific conspiracy theories, government massive buybacks, government price setting, confiscation scenarios, $10,000 to $37,500 government mandated prices, are almost always going to be false. Not everything is public, but specifically that the theories claiming imminent, massive government intervention in XRP's price are not what is happening behind those NDAs. Third, the logical self-verification. If there was a big secret, he would not say, "There is no big secret," because saying so would make him a liar if the secret existed. He is inverting the conspiracy logic and using it to confirm that the specific categories of conspiracy theories he is addressing are not what the NDAs are protecting. What this means practically: the NDAs protect commercial business relationships. The Kyobo life insurance deal was under NDA before it was announced. The BBVA partnership had an NDA. Every institutional relationship has one. None of those are the government conspiracy theories Schwartz is addressing. The XRP thesis does not require government buybacks or mandated price setting to be valid. The documented institutional demand from Kyobo, BBVA, DBS, Goldman Sachs's $153.8 million ETF position, and the $1.27 billion in cumulative XRP ETF inflows is the thesis. That thesis does not need a conspiracy to work. It needs the adoption curve that the documented institutional flow data is already confirming. Now, the Kyobo Life Insurance Partnership, because this is the most significant institutional announcement of the past 2 weeks, and it deserves precise framing rather than the brief mention it has received in most coverage. On April 15, 2026, Ripple announced a landmark strategic partnership with Kyobo Life Insurance, one of Korea's largest and most established life insurers, managing $92 billion in assets, making it the first Korean insurance institution to partner with any blockchain company for bond settlement. The pilot uses Ripple custody and XRP ledger infrastructure to test near real-time settlement, custody, and transfer of tokenized Korean government bond assets. Korean government bond settlement currently runs on a T+2 cycle through the Korea Securities Depository. Korean financial regulators are actively sending delegations to the United States and United Kingdom this month to study how to shorten that settlement cycle, while Ripple is already piloting near real-time settlement with Kyobo. The regulatory study delegation and the active Ripple pilot are running in parallel in the same calendar window, which means the regulatory framework being drafted based on what those delegations learn is being informed by the operational performance of the very infrastructure they are evaluating. Ripple's Korean presence was built in documented stages. February 2025, partnership with Korean custodian BDAX for institutional XRP and RLUSD storage. August 2025, BDAX going live on Korea's 3 largest exchanges, Upbit, Coinon, and Corbit, giving institutions regulated XRP access for the first time. April 2026, first major insurance partner with the Kyobo bond settlement pilot. This is a 14-month institutional market entry sequence that produced the $92 billion asset manager as the latest addition to a custody client list that already includes BBVA, DBS, DZ Bank, Intenso, and Societe Generale. Globally systemically important banks running multiple custody systems across different jurisdictions are using Ripple Custody's multi-custody orchestration layer to centrally manage governance and policy across all of them, which is what the one window, one policy engine, multiple jurisdictions architecture solves that no single function custody provider can match. The Kyobo deal is not an outlier. It is the latest step in a documented institutional adoption sequence that is building by geography and by sector simultaneously. Now, the open interest data and the macro warning, both of which deserve honest engagement rather than selective presentation. XRP open interest collapsed from 7 billion XRP in October 2025 to approximately 1.5 billion today. A 71% reduction that represents the most complete leverage wipeout in XRP derivatives history. What the reset means technically, speculative leveraged positions have been cleared. The derivative market is no longer carrying a structural long bias built on retail enthusiasm. When open interest is at this level, price movements are less likely to be amplified by leverage cascade effects in either direction, which makes the setup more dependent on underlying spot demand than on derivatives positioning. The historical precedent that the community is citing, last time Binance OI compressed to these levels, XRP moved from 0.0 times 50 to 3.40 is real data. The honest qualification? Compressed open interest is a prerequisite for a clean trend move, not a guarantee of direction. If new spot demand steps in at this level, the absence of leveraged resistance accelerates the move significantly. If spot demand does not materialize, the absence of leverage support means the downside is also unprotected. The SBI VC data showing XRP's 6-year return at 987% versus Bitcoin at 1,500% and Ethereum at 2,000% over the same window is the context in which the current compressed positioning should be evaluated. 6-year holders of XRP are not in distress at current prices. They are looking at a near 4-digit percentage return, while the leverage that distorted short-term price dynamics has been completely cleaned out. Now, the macro warning that deserves to be stated directly rather than softened. The Strait of Hormuz has been effectively closed for approximately 2 months, the longest sustained closure in modern history. 15% of global oil supply is offline. The paper price of oil and the physical delivery price are running approximately $40 to $50 apart, a spread that reflects the growing disconnect between financial market pricing and the physical supply reality. When that spread closes, and it will close because physical supply constraints are not indefinitely ignorable, inflation will move materially. The question for crypto specifically is whether the inflation shock triggers a risk-off response that pulls capital out of digital assets in the near term, or whether the currency debasement narrative that has historically driven crypto adoption during inflationary periods dominates. Argentina is the reference case. A population that has watched its currency devalued to near zero multiple times in living memory does not wait for regulatory clarity to find alternatives to its sovereign currency. As the macro environment creates more populations with first-hand experience of currency debasement, the adoption driver for crypto shifts from speculative opportunity to functional necessity. And functional necessity is a more durable demand driver than speculative opportunity in every historical precedent. Here is the complete picture. XRP Las Vegas opens April 30th with Garlinghouse and Schwartz on stage, and realistic expectations for RLUSD integration updates, XRPL technical announcements, and ODL milestone disclosures, grounded in what this event has historically delivered rather than in the conspiracy theory announcement range that engagement farming content has set. Schwartz's conspiracy theory statement, read in its full context, confirms that NDAs are real while specifically disconfirming the government intervention categories. And understanding the distinction between those two things is the difference between a thesis built on documented institutional adoption and a thesis built on a secret plan that Schwartz just told you does not exist. Kyobo Life Insurance, with $92 billion in assets, becoming the first Korean insurer to pilot tokenized bond settlement on Ripple custody, is the institutional adoption story of the week, adding to a custody client list that spans globally systemically important banks across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. The 71% open interest reset is the most complete leverage cleanup in XRP derivatives history and creates the technical setup where spot demand, not derivatives momentum, will determine the direction of the next significant price move. And the macro oil situation is a real risk that is not yet priced into the crypto market and that deserves serious monitoring rather than dismissal. Smash the like button if this gave you the complete picture. The realistic XRP Las Vegas expectations, the full David Schwartz statement with the nuance intact, the Kyobo institutional significance, the honest, open interest data interpretation, and the macro warning. You stayed for the full analysis, including the parts that required nuance rather than hype. And that is exactly the standard this channel is built on. Subscribe and hit the bell because XRP Las Vegas starts April 30th. And anything announced from the main stage gets the full breakdown here immediately. Tell me in the comments, which of the two events, XRP Las Vegas this week or Swell plus Apex in New York in October, do you think produces the more consequential announcement for the XRP institutional adoption timeline? See you on Monday.